Hi there, I'm Bruce. This is Speed and Color. Today we're going to talk about flat track racing. You know what? I think flat track racing is really cool. I love the stuff. Speedway racing too, that's another one that I think is just great. Flat track racing seems to be catching on again. We maybe went through a little bit of a lull, certainly out here in Western Canada we may have. But you know, it seems there's a resurgence. We're seeing things, and maybe it's been around for a while and I just am more aware of it now, but we've got Mama Tried, we've got Flat Out Fridays, you know, this kind of stuff happening in the US. I know that flat track racing is big down in Ontario. Looking at the Flat Track Canada website, I noticed that there's a Saskatchewan flat track organization. I imagine there's one out in BC. I'd sure like to hear more about all the flat track racing that's going on for sure in Canada and really across North America. You know, we've got drag strips closing, road course racing is expensive, and you know, there are a couple new tracks in Western Canada, but there's certainly not plenty of them, and racing in general, you know, competitive motorcycle stuff seems to be a little bit challenged, and you know, for sure we're having issues finding space to do this and to run. There's also the affordability issue. You know, love road course racing, think it's great. Man, it's not cheap. You know, same drag racing is maybe a little more affordable, or can be, you know, if you're bracket racing. But still, you know, a fair investment there. Flat track racing seems to be something right now that you can do on, you know, a modest budget. It seems no racing is ever affordable. Don't get me wrong, just doesn't happen. However, flat track racing seems to be one of the more affordable ways to go. So really enjoyed sitting down with these gentlemen from Alberta Flat Track Association. They got some good stuff going on. We talk about a bunch of stuff. I do want to, I don't know if we really made note of it in the show here, so I'm going to make note of it now. The rules are available at Flat Track Canada. You just Google it. The website may be flattrackcanada. I don't know if it's a .ca or a .com. Anyway, if you Google it, I'm sure it'll come up. The rules are there. It appears that everybody's running under Flat Track Canada's rules. Pretty straightforward, you know, lots of classes, lots of different stuff going on. So you can go there, take a look at that. I do want to make one correction that I know in the interview here or in the show, we do talk about helmets, and it is said that helmet rating must be Snell. That doesn't appear to be true. There are 3 different standards that are acceptable for flat track racing. One is BSI, which I believe is British Standard, which is a pretty good certification. Snell is also acceptable, as is ECE. And they say ECE 2205 or better. ECE is, though it's a European, I forget what the 3 letters stand for, but it's a European designation, the most widely accepted certification in the world. I believe it covers about 50 countries. So those 3 are all acceptable. DOT is not on the list, which isn't surprising. So you can go there to check that out. As far as classes, lots of different things going on. I'm so interested in this. I'm kind of spurred on by this. I am currently looking for either a Sportster or maybe even one of those. Remember when Harley did the Street 500 and the Street 750? I don't know, maybe one of those would make a good flat tracker too. But I am in the market for a Sportster. I got some guys looking for me. We're going to see what we can find. I wouldn't mind putting an inexpensive flat tracker together and going out and having some fun. We'll have to see if Karen will let me ride it or if I'm going to have to find a rider. We'll determine that later. But anyway, it'll all be good. The other thing I'm gonna throw out a bit of a challenge here, or maybe a controversy. I noticed that we still have a ladies class in flat track racing. I'm going to tell you, I don't know why the gals can't race with the guys. I don't get it. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't see, other than ego, I don't see any reason that a female and a male rider can't be on the track at the same time. I don't get it. So I'm throwing that one out there for opinion and see what everybody thinks. On this one, hey, for you gals, I'm behind you 100%. I think you should be out there racing with the men. I don't see any reason that gender makes a difference on a flat track motorcycle. There you go. That's my opinion. I think it's just a historical thing, and I think it's time that we lose that. Anyway, that'll be a fun topic for another show. Anyway, that's what I have to say about flat track racing for now. The show is great. We get a look at a bike. These two gentlemen are really, really good. I'm not going to give too much away about the show. I'll let you watch it. Thanks for being here. Again, check us out on Instagram. Subscribe, like, do all of that stuff, or follow on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Check out our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, and all those other podcast platforms. But do me a favor, subscribe on YouTube. It'll help our numbers. And hey, thanks for being here. Sit down, relax, enjoy. So here we are back at Speed and Color. You found us. I appreciate that. Thank you. Once again today, I have to do a quick shout out to Ill-Fated Customs. Kenny and Jen have graciously allowed us to use the Prairie Emporium here. That said, it's a work day. It's a live environment. There's going to be customers in and out. Hopefully they don't wind up on camera, but they will be coming in and out. There'll be some background noise, but hopefully it won't be too bad. I just need to check something. There we go. So we're all good. Today's episode, we're going to talk to a couple guys with the Alberta Flat Track Association.
That's correct, yeah.
And there's no racing word in there. It's just Alberta Flat Track, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So Alberta Flat Track Association. I have Amir and Daryl with me. What we're going to do to start off is I'm going to allow each of these guys to introduce themselves and just tell you a little bit about them, racing background, history, where they work, where they did work, whatever the case may be. So, Amir, let's start with you.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, my name is Amir Qureshi. I've been, I guess since, first bike of 15 years old or 13. I've been riding and started racing at 16, mostly motocross, gravitated toward, did some flat track, really enjoyed the flat track. And now that a little bit older and the body's not quite as spry as it was when I was 18, the flat track is still demanding, but it's not quite punishing. Right. So I'm really enjoying getting back into riding again.
Cool. Yeah. So what we've heard from Amir so far is that flat track racing is for old guys. Daryl, what about you?
Well, my parents didn't allow motorcycles. I dreamt about them when I was Amir's age, a young 16-year-old, but we broke through at 18, hid the bike in the woods, and didn't bring it home. So that kind of opened the door, my brother Doug and I, and we spent our life in the motorcycle industry. Doug just sold his business of 32 years 1 year ago, and so I got him off the couch, and he's coming out and along with 4 other guys to do this sport. I race motocross, ice racing, and spent 49 years riding since 1975. I was in the industry my whole life, and this is a way to keep up with friends, old friends, new friends. It's for all people. It's the fastest dirt bike racing there is. Story dates back for the flat track to 1975, August 15th, the one and only time that motorcycles have been on the Calgary Stampede 5/8 mile chuck wagon track. That was a truly exciting day. Canadian racers from all across were there. Yeah, I was a rookie, and quite frankly, I didn't know enough about the sport. So, due to the size and the demand on the machine, I didn't complete the day. It was a 250 bike. Kaboom!
Yeah.
So
lots of history, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
So you mentioned Doug coming out, and that's something I wanted to ask you guys about. Is I didn't even realize you guys were racing. I had seen you a few years ago at the Edmonton Motorcycle Show, and you ran on the arena surface on the concrete there, and it was a pretty entertaining show, and I thought it's cool, and there were some bikes and stuff. I had no idea you were running up in Olds. You're the best kept secret around. What are you going to do to get the word out and get some new people into it? Racing, as you know, with the closure of Race City, racing in this part of the world is pretty limited. Blackfoot Motorsports Park is on, soft ground. Don't know what's going to happen there. So motocross may go away. We don't have a lot of options. We've got a new road course north of the city, but it's expensive and it's more aimed at cars than it is at bikes. I think it's great to have a competitive racing series. How do we get the word out?
Well,
go ahead.
I'm just coming back from years of inactivity in the racing, but it's getting a hold of all the old people. Everyone's older now. The kids have grown up. They've got more time, so a lot of them gravitating back to the sport.
Yeah.
And then they know, the younger people actually just love it too. I mean, we've got it's their son, like Riley Wells is the son of Terry, and so he knows that's how he knew about it. And he's one of the fastest guys around. He went to Ontario to do the national races. It's great to have someone of that caliber in mixing it up with us, and so we can only get better, and
right.
And brings the younger people in as well. I mean, it's turning out to be, if you go to the track, there's so many kids. It's a family, the pit, there'll be a whole bunch of mini bikes, in this one pit, and then a whole bunch of them. The kids are milling around when we're doing the riders meeting, getting ready to go, and they're all dressed, all excited. So the kids they're loving it.
Right.
So, but there's been, like I said, the resurgence, mainly because empty nest, so now there's time and there's some money to put stuff together and get back out there. It doesn't seem like you once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you sort of don't forget. Although coming back, the muscle memory's kind of there. You have to get used to it again. But you don't really forget that much.
Right.
So everyone's going pretty fast. Like we're hitting over 120 down the straightaways.
But you mentioned kids, and I understand that kids. I hear this a lot around events where we're family friendly and they want to accommodate kids and everything. I mean, guys, let's be honest. Calgary, if you put on a Petunia Festival, you'll have everybody out there in their Birkenstocks eating their sprout sandwiches, enjoying the day and stuff, right? You talk about motorcycle or race car, people are gone. They don't want anything to do with that dirty, smelly, scary kind of stuff, right? So what are we doing to get motorcyclists into this, to show it to, that's our demographic. Those are the people we know are interested. So how do we get more motorcycles to show up out at Olds to a race to enjoy it.
Well, Bruce, you knocked the nail on the head. Blackfoot Motorsports Park, or Blackfoot Motorcycle Park, the Wild Rose Association, that's been going, like I was out there in the 70s and watched the World Championship. The best of the best. It was an FIM, Federation International Motorcyclist,
Right.
World Championship. So, like, almost 50 years later, it's under threat. The Calgary Bus Barns and Victoria Park are coming down due to the expansion of the event center. So that will be a parking lot. So City of Calgary needs a spot for the buses. So that's what's going to happen there.
Oh, is that what's happening?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a transit friend, and that's going to happen.
Okay.
So motorcycles are important for recreation, but public transportation trumps motorcycles.
Right.
So a lot of MDs don't want the noise. So these racetracks are hard to get approved. What we have going for us as flat track racers and the sport is, well, number one, we're the oldest form of motorcycle racing in North America. It evolved off of the beaches of Florida on the sand, then into the circus velodromes, the wooden bowls basically, and then eventually after the World Wars, exhibition societies started up, horse racing, that kind of stuff, amusement rides. So when that happened, they built horse tracks. So we have the unique sport where there are multiple facilities in Alberta and Saskatchewan, not much in BC. Like half-mile horse tracks need space. And in British Columbia, those guys come to our races because they have no half-mile horse tracks. Residential expansion, for example, in Armstrong, BC, ate up the track. There was a national there in the 80s. So we have unlimited facilities. So we aren't going to get taken out by Calgary Transit.
Right.
That's one thing that we have going for us. The facilities don't need a lot of prep. Water, harrows, packing. We build a cushion track in Drumheller, which is more of a slider track, deeper loam, and then we'll pack it to keep the dust down, and then you'll still have a surface that has some, almost like marbles for sliding.
Right.
The soil composition in Olds, Alberta, is more loamy. It's not as clay looking as Drumheller's Dinosaur Downs. So that track in Olds, due to their composition, has to be packed and watered. So it's turning into a groove track, which is kind of like, I guess, dirt pavement.
Right.
But you get some really nice controlled slides there. It's predictable, and it's faster. The two tracks differ in about 10 miles an hour speed. So we don't have a facilities problem. We also can use old bikes. And this is an example of an old bike right here, Bruce, in front of you. This is a 1977 TT 500 engine put into an American-built night frame. These things get cycled in and out of different ownerships. This owner is this bike's on its third owner. A fellow from Northern Alberta, a NAID instructor, built this bike. His name was Tim Horner, rest his soul. He passed away and put a lot of energy into the sport. So a guy in Calgary owns this bike, Joel Hidalgo, and he's our president of our association. And I brought him into the sport because I knew he was a motorcycle rider, and
Right.
he was a hockey player, so I said, you got to come out and try this. So he took the plunge, and he's loving it. So these bikes are...
Well, this is what I relate to more. Sorry to cut you off,
no
but
problem.
when I saw you guys racing at the motorcycle show, there was a lot of older hardware out there. It was really cool. I know, I think flat track's doing fairly well in Ontario, from what I understand.
yes.
There's a lot of racing out there. Obviously, there's a lot in the U.S., and now they're doing the Mama Tried thing and the Flat Out Fridays, and all that stuff is happening. I will say that I find some of it a little too novelty. I get it. It gets people out on scooters and whatever and gold wings, and it's all fun and what have you. But it is a novelty. To me, it's not serious racing. What you guys are doing seems a lot more serious to me. And seeing you at the motorcycle show, it was the old hardware that I related to. I know that, we're taking current Honda dirt bikes and Huskies and whatever, turning them into flat trackers. It's still cool, and I'm all about competitive racing, whatever form it takes. I don't relate to it as much. I relate to this style of flat track bike.
Yeah, we have, like for the kids, it's modern mini bikes, and they race on the infield at Olds. Our season 2024 is all going to be at Olds, Alberta. It's a great track. It dates back to 1976. We had national championships there for 3 years. So now we have the sons of those riders. And we're approaching our 47th year. And we had some time out where we weren't there, but they welcome us back. They enjoy the sport. We start at noon. We respect church on Sunday morning. We don't make noise before noon, and the residents. We're done by 5 and as early as 3:30. We have 16 classes. We also invited the quads, the dirt track quads, into our world, and that's been a great addition. They're 1.5 seconds slower than the motorcycles. They're quite exciting to watch. We go 4 abreast in the corner, and they're open wheel. So there's a trust element. If they touch, it's a beach ball, basically.
Right.
And they're on 450s, and they're also on 2-stroke 350 Raptors, which are the twin-cylinder 350 2-stroke, and they sound like a screaming jet. They have 6-speed transmissions. These bikes, the younger guys will ride the modern motocrossers, lowered and maybe modified, and maybe not, just tires. So that's an entry level for them. Some motocross guys get hurt, and so they still want to race, but they don't want to get hurt more, so they will come and try this. The vintage bikes, this is a framer, it's called. They're lower, they have the geometry. You can take a stock frame bike and cut the head and bring it in. You degree it inwards, so it's steeper on the front axle. They'll last for this bike here has been in use for 30 years.
Right.
On and off, So it's not, you don't need a $15,000 brand new bike to do this sport.
No.
Very inexpensive. Tires will last, if you're a beginner, this tire is going to last you several years.
Right.
And if you go faster, you're going to still get a year out of it.
So let's talk about getting into the sport, because we just talked about how do we get people to come out and see it and everything. But once a guy is interested, young or old, what does he have to do to get into this? What's required, for a helmet? Snell rating, or what kind of helmet do you need? What do you need for leathers?
Okay, so that's a great question. And on our poster, we're building it for newbies. We have a weekend, and maybe 2, depending on weather, where we call it a test and tune. It's not a race.
Right.
We are not giving out trophies. We are allowing people to come out on their dirt bikes and try this. We're allowing knobby tires. You got to have your certified helmet, but just gear, motorcycle gear.
Certified to what though?
Snell.
It has to be a Snell.
Yeah, because this is a speed event.
Yep.
Most street helmets are. So you come out with your leather coat, your leather pants, and your boots of any description. And with knobbies, we'll let you have some laps. We charge $40 just for insurance. That goes straight to the insurance provider. And you can do as many laps as you want. On Saturday, June 8th, and Sunday, June 9th at the Olds Regional Exhibition. So that's our first test and tune. 2 weeks later.
That's in conjunction with their exhibition, is it?
No. No, horses and motorcycles.
That's just
days.
the name of the facility.
Location,
Gotcha.
ORE,
It's called,
Olds Regional Exhibition, 1899. It's one of the longest surviving horse tracks in Canada.
Okay.
So you come out, try it on your, say, 250 Kawasaki dirt bike, and if you take a shine to it, then simply you just go get yourself a used tire. Most of the racers will give you a used tire for free for the back wheel. They're 19-inch wheels on motocross bikes. Get a hold of me, guys. I'm in the world of used tires. And
you've got a stack that's sitting there. Yeah.
You got a stack. So you can come and try that. I'm going to let Amir describe all the gear here in a minute, but you don't need this kind of bike. But your any dirt bike, your dad's dirt bike in the garage.
So your leathers, no rating, no safety rating, no requirement there, just as long as they're full leathers.
It's if you want to be foolish or not. You want to be armored up and padded up because to fall off in 120K is not going to be the most,
Even in the dirt, right?
Well, you'll slide along, so you want to have material that's good for abrasion. Like leather is really good for that, and will let you just slide along. I've got knee braces, elbow pads. I like to have shoulder pads because I've gone even motocross. I'm flying over the bars like once a year. And
Motocross gear is good.
And then I've even had where the pad has seams on the inside, and they're embedded in my skin. So I had a good, I didn't break any collarbone. Anyway,
you guys talk a lot about the steel shoe, and that is part of the gear. Do you need that if you're going to do the novice thing with knobby tires? At what level do you need that steel shoe? And do you maybe want to tell us about, if you've got one here, show us?
I'd say it's quite important because if without the steel shoe, you end up, if you put your foot down, it'll grip and grab the surface, and then your leg will be flipped back.
Okay, so even in that test and tune,
you want to borrow a shoe.
Racing,
you want to borrow
one,
a boot from somebody.
Enough of the riders there. So in lieu of this, a smooth sole boot like this. Motocross boots tend to be grippy, but some are like this for sliding. Because even on a motocross track, when you put your leg down, you can rip your knee. So these work good, and then duct tape for the test and tune.
Okay.
Wrap the boot in duct tape. And you're only lightly pressuring your left foot. This is a third wheel when you're really going fast. But for test and tune, you got to get used to it. You're not going to be going 120. You're probably going to be driving around there at comfortable speeds. So this taped up, or a piece of carpet on the bottom, or hockey puck board taped on, when you really get moving, then you enter this. This is your third wheel. So what it does, it allows you to go too fast. It's controlled crash. You skid the wheels, and you lay the bike down, just like you're crashing, but you don't go all the way down.
Well, if you're doing it right, you're actually, you're using, the front and the rear wheel are both in a slide mode.
Yes.
Okay, so you're not just kicking the back out. You're
drifting.
You're drifting with front. The front is also drifting, okay, not just the back, right? And then that's why when you have the steel shoe, if you tend to lose the front a little bit, you can stab down and catch yourself from going all the way down. So it's kind of a little tripod, and it just sort of, I don't know, for me, I use it, it's almost a feeler, like it's there, and you can hear the stones hitting, tick, tick, tick.
And every lap's different. So, like you're scrubbing, and you're understeer, oversteer, so it makes you a hell of a good road rider.
Yeah.
If you're out on your street bike and you have this already in your brain, you will know how to save your bacon.
Yeah.
And it could actually save your life.
Right.
So this sport has a great.
Amir, you had mentioned to me that it's hard to find the steel shoe.
Well, there aren't many used ones, but but you can order one. There's no problem.
I got thinking about it, and I thought, with all the blacksmiths and the guys who can make horseshoes and everything else in this part of the world, I mean, we're in horse country here, right? There must be guys around
that's a good point.
Who could make steel shoes for you.
Well, I don't want to say too much on that right now, but it's a science. There's like I have a homemade shoe that's basically worn through. Like you can see the seams are all opening. And
Comparable.
Yeah, but it's homemade, and the edges are sharp, but it worked,
Yeah.
So to start with, you can make something yourself. Just get a welder and just have a surface. Yeah.
Boot.
But these guys are you have to send your boot away, and then they fit the boot. Like it'll go. That's like a glove.
Wow, that is, that's impressive.
And then you have to put your strap on. But yeah, it's a glove fit.
Yeah. But again,
And,
we've got some pretty talented fabricators and stuff. I'm sure.
Yeah,
somebody
there's some around.
It's hard to lend your shoe up because it won't usually fit the next guy's boot.
No, you have to lend the whole boot. You have to lend the whole boot,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
A universal shoe is not in existence.
No.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not totally necessary when you're learning.
Okay.
Like, you can still
There's
drive
ways
the
around
track and get the bike sideways a bit, and then still just lightly dab your foot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, as long
you-
as you have a smooth surface there,
Yeah.
so you're not grabbing.
Yeah, no tread on your soles.
Good.
These
So
bikes,
now-
like going back to your first question, the bike, well, we forgot to mention, there are no front brakes.
Well, I was going to say, we've talked about the rider now and what the rider needs. Let's switch over to the bike. And even though you don't need this quality of bike to get started, let's talk about, what it takes to go racing and kind of what the goal should be or what we need to do. And, questions I would have are safety wiring. Do all the bolts have to be safety wired? Or nylocked, or where are we at with that kind of stuff? So you know what, you're absolutely right about the brake and everything. I'm going to let you guys start right here at the front wheel and take us through the bike, and preferably take us down this side of it.
Okay.
And then what we'll do for the folks is we'll turn this thing around and we'll cover the other side of the bike, and they'll know all about it.
Sounds good.
Go for it.
Start
Yeah.
with the front. No brake, as I previously pointed out. It's a spool hub. So where do you get spool hubs from? Well, old CB750 Honda street bikes.
I have a Yamaha one.
Yeah. So that's record yard material. That's cheap.
Okay, so question for you.
Yes.
If you're starting out in one of the classes, if you simply take the disc off the wheel.
just the lever.
Oh, that's all you have to
Motocross
do.
guy comes
Okay.
out, test and tune. We make you remove the right-hand brake lever. That's it. You can leave the disc on, the lines, the reservoir, because without the lever, you can't use the brake.
If you touch your brake going in the corner,
Yeah.
you're down
Right.
instantly. There's no.
But I just wondered
There's
how
no
much
forgiveness.
of,
There's
of
no
it you have
forgiving
to
there.
remove,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, just
And-
the lever.
And will a wheel that accommodates a disc, will that wheel work?
I use my 21-inch knobby tire on the front. It doesn't dig the track up like a knobby on the rear does.
Yeah.
So, like I said, for test and tune, we just to get new people into the sport, we'll allow just bring your stock setup. I didn't even lower my 250, and I got second in the class, right? I put my vintage hat on because I run Makos also. Yeah, just for a new person coming out, basically disconnect the front brake, whatever it is, some kind of street-oriented dual sport kind of tire in the back will work well.
Adventure tires work.
Yeah, actually, what I use is a trials tire.
Okay.
The trials bike.
Yeah.
And that actually works really good in the cushion. I kind of run the edge where there's more dirt, and it digs in nice, and away we go.
Nice.
Okay. And so
going to the
So
forks.
front wheel not hard to come by.
Yeah.
And then onto the forks.
Okay, so the fork. These particular forks are these are Italian Cerianis. These came on Bultaco motorcycles, Osas, a few other brands over the years. Road race bikes. They don't need a lot of modification. 10 weight fork oil, soft forks is what I'm saying. Motocross is much stiffer because you're hitting bumps. So these are from, motocross works. It can be stiff. You can ride with stiff forks. The handlebars are a flat track bend, so they're kind of like rototiller, wider. They don't have the crossbar, with the crossbar pad. So they're kind of like a street bike set of bars. The throttle here is a side pull. Why is that? So the cable, first of all, on a side pull goes out 90 degrees and turns. That's so the guy who's passing you doesn't come in, stick his handlebar in here, hook your cable, drive away, and make your throttle go wide open.
Right.
This is not good for your health. So that's why the side pull's used. If you don't have a side pole, then you take a motocross cable and just make sure you tie wrap it so it's not hanging out in the wind.
Right.
No
Okay,
front
so
brake lever. As
I
said.
have a question for you because you mentioned rake angle to make these things more responsive.
D-rake. Yes.
D-rake, right? You mentioned modifying the frame. Does anybody, and I guess there's so many different motorcycles, it'd be tough, but does anybody de-rake the triple trees?
Yes.
Build that D-rake into the triple trees?
Yes. They have inserts, concentrics. When you're really getting to be a pro, then you're working the 1 degree differential on the top and bottom concentric.
Yeah.
You flip them over, but that's down the road.
But that's cool, and some, I mean, a lot of our listeners and viewers know about that stuff, and I think that's cool that you can actually tune it like that.
Well,
that's good.
that comes to more at the advanced area. If you're just basic, try and bring the forks up, as high as you can. Most of the new motocross bikes they're all like 26 degrees anyway. Like they're pretty close to that. So a little bit of dropping. When you put a smaller wheel on the front, you're increasing the rake again. So
I'm sure for that first couple of seasons, if you're worried about this, you're worried about the wrong stuff probably.
Unless it's creating an issue. But we should finish this bike, and then I'll do a run through on setting up.
So don't forget, we want to do the side that the cameras are seeing right now.
Okay, before we leave the forks, like our sport, people share information.
Right.
We're not about secrets. I mean, some people may be, but like I myself, I tell you if you were going to start out, 29 inches, center of the axle, top of the fork.
Okay.
Okay? So that would, if you got 31, you just move your forks up through the tree 2 inches. Now you're 29.
Right.
That's optimum. Gearing olds, well, on a 450, 1347. Because you can muck around a lot of time and waste and grease and energy and I'm tired, changing wheels, sprockets, all that stuff. And the gearing is very critical.
So you just said 1347.
Yes.
Describe that. What does that mean?
Okay, that's the rear, 47 teeth. You could be a 46 and the 13 counter shaft. So the rotation is about roughly 4 to 1. You want to accelerate on the straightaway past the start-finish line at full throttle, full speed at that point. Then you chop the throttle when you approach the corner, say 100 feet out, maybe 75, depending on the moisture, and that starts to lock up the wheel slightly, and that kicks it out. The compression braking. So that sets up your slide. That's
there
the
you
technique.
Go. That's
you
what
get
we
your
need
right
to know.
elbow up on the throttle. And you got your left arm out. I'm not on a bike, so this is a little harder. And you drop your left leg, and you do your entry. And then you start coming around the corner. You're scrubbing speed. You're slowing down from the 110, 120. So now you're doing 100, maybe 90. You're at that point, you're doing like 100K is 88 feet a second.
Right.
So this is quick thinking, and it's great for the mind. You leave your work stress at home. It's your world.
Yeah.
And
so question for you. Are you ever shifting this? Once you're racing, are
well,
you
that
just...
depends on the bike. Like a 125, 200 class, yes. But on a big motor like this 500, optimum is one shift.
Okay.
So you're peaked out at the start-finish line, like I earlier said, and then you're going to approach the corner, and that compression is going to set up the slide. So now, when you apex and start coming through corner two towards corner two, you may, on certain motor sizes, have to nick it to fourth to accelerate out of the corner two down the back straightaway. Repeat for 3, 4.
Okay.
Essentially, go fast, turn left.
Yeah. Okay.
32 seconds is a fast lap time. That's 31, 32. That's moving.
Right.
Ideally, if you have got the right everything, you're not. Once you get into fifth gear, you don't shift.
You're there.
You just stay there.
Yeah.
Like my bike 250, I have to shift in the fourth because there's not enough oomph. If I remained in fifth, to get through the corner and like accelerate out. But I think on my 4-stroke, I'm going to try it this year. I probably will have enough bottom end that I can just stay in 5th gear.
Right. Cool.
And, yeah.
Cool.
The rear brake, Bruce, just to explain brakes, one only.
Okay, you know what? Let's wait
yeah.
until we turn it around.
sure.
So I'll get you to cover what's over here
Yeah.
first.
The motors, like just before we leave the midsection of the bike, the motors tend to be weighted to the front wheel. But you know, that's the geometry. Like the modern bikes, the dirt track 450s, they tend to be a little less forward than this particular bike. But either way, it's generally 60-40, 55-45 weight distribution. 50-50 would be rare. You know, identical, both wheels. But this bike here is probably a 55-45 weight distribution. It's geometry, right? Tire pressure. Some guys like a lot of air. You know, I go 22 pounds. There's guys that will race with 12 pounds, which is that's way too low in my opinion. I'm trying to make the knob stand up. 22 pounds, 20 is okay. Everybody's, if you ask 5 guys, you get 5 different answers.
Sure. Yeah, it's racing, right?
It depends
Yeah.
on the tire too. Like on my trials tire, I have to be 22 pounds because under 22, the tire wants to fold
Yes.
in the corner. So in order to keep its shape,
Yeah.
I need to have that 22 pounds. It's funny that figure is the same on this tire as well. But yeah, I've seen guys run 5 pounds on those, thinking they're going to get more bite. But my 22 pounds beat that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they run tubes.
What do we run for gas?
Premium pump gas most of the time. If you feel like you have the inclination, you can buy the expensive stuff. It's VPC 12,
Yeah.
but it's 20-25 bucks a gallon.
Yeah, it's
It's
expensive.
not necessary. Like
What about alcohol? You run
only
alcohol at
after
all?
the races are over.
Okay. No, but I mean, methanol is a great race fuel because it runs cool. You know,
Yeah,
burns
that's-
real clean. Like
Hey, we should maybe
it's
try
nice
it.
stuff. Yeah.
You've got different carbs set up, I believe, for methanol. So
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
2.4 times as much methanol as gasoline.
Okay.
yeah.
So
The
all your jetting
speedway,
and everything is huge.
a speedway bike is set up for methanol, and you can run a speedway on the, like, it's not as
Straight methanol, I think, Speedway.
speedway is straight methanol, yeah.
Right,
But-
I thought they used
yeah.
it somewhere. Yeah.
And guys run speedway bikes, you know, on the flat track as well. So, and their track is a shorter flat track. They have maybe 1/8 of a mile, like they're
Okay.
15-second lap times.
Yeah.
And the Speedway is like North America flat track's cousin,
Yes.
European cousin.
Yeah.
They never quit turning. They're in a
Right.
continuous circle.
It's a different bike.
No,
yeah.
no gears.
Yeah.
No transmission.
Yeah, no transmission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
They're very cool bikes. Though.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very similar. They run cinder track.
Okay.
So yeah, it's there's some in California.
Nice.
It takes a whole different facility.
Do we have anything else on this side of the bike that we need to cover? There's the chain. There's the
gearing,
number
yeah.
plate.
Okay, so here's the
swing
gear
arm here.
that you brought
Here,
up.
I'll let
Okay.
you head around here.
Oh, okay. No,
You're okay?
Yeah.
So on the actual sprocket, you'll see a spinner. It's a triangle-shaped thing, wired, to hold it on the sprocket. These are called quick change wheels. So when you take the wheel off and do this spinner on both sides, you have one on the disc brake and the sprocket, then you can swap. So instead of taking the tire off the rim, you swap the tire around and reinstall the sprocket on the fresh side of the tire,
Right.
and put the disc on the worn side. So this one particular bike's been one race on this side, so it's got some scuff on it. The other side has the marks of new still on it, so that's the fresh side. So that's called a quick change wheel. This particular bike's got a 40, let's have a look, they're printed on the side, 44-13 on the front. So that's the ratio that this particular engine runs at the half mile. Once you figure out the gearing for a half mile, you write it on your trailer door or if you're a secretive guy, you put it in your wallet. But other riders will come by and check your door on our trailer. They come and check the door. I got them all written up there: North Battleford, Drumheller, Pemberton,
Right.
DC. It's not a secret. Go ahead, guys. Have a look, because it'll make the other guys less frustrated trying to change the gears, miss a race. You're covered in grease. So let's just get it done, get it set, and let's go. Let's go racing.
Very good. Well, you know what? Why don't we flip this thing around and show everybody the other side of the bike? Sure. So, got this thing flipped around, we're all set, and Daryl is just itching to tell us more about it.
Okay, so one part we missed when we were talking the front are these fork protectors. A lot of abrasion coming off the back of another bike's wheel. So if you're, say, in second or third place and you're chasing for the lead, you're going to come into a dirt storm. It's like a water hose full of dirt getting fired at your body, your face, your bike. So the rocks and the pieces will chip the fork tubes, and now you've got a big problem. So these keep the abrasion off the shiny part of the fork, and you won't get nicked up, and your seals will keep working, and thus no leaks and no grief. This is a kill button attachment here at the front. So if you come separate from the bike and crash, it'll shut the engine off. The pipe here, you notice it has a very severe bend coming out of the head. That's because when you dive into the corner, the front wheel comes up on the fork and it will touch the pipe. So that's been modified to not rub on the pipe because it slows the wheel.
And let me back up to the safety switch there, because we have to remember there's people listening who can't see what we're pointing at. So it's a tether on a coiled
Yeah, we have two
wire.
types on this bike. Either one's legal. So this is a coily, attach it to your leathers, but it also has a bar mount, which is also acceptable. It came with the red one. He's never removed it.
But the point of the tether is if you fall off the bike, you pull
It kills the
the
motor.
switch
Yeah.
and it kills the motor.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, in case your throttle cable's pinched, or actually when it falls over, it can actually pinch the throttle on the dirt, and
Right.
Stuck wide open.
and so it's a safety feature so that the bike doesn't run away off the track right on its own if there's a cable problem, and also it just if you're underneath the bike when you fall and the thing's rev, that'll stop the engine as well. So. I'm not sure if we're mandatory, but it's a
Kill
good
buttons
idea.
are mandatory.
It's a really good idea, right?
Yeah, it's very
Oil
good
goes
idea.
in the frame right here. But it increases the volume of the oil. It's not just in the engine. It also has extra oil up here. So more oil, it runs cooler.
Yeah.
So it's got a reservoir under the tank, and the lines go down to the engine on the top of the head. The carburetor has a K&N air cleaner. Dirt trackers use K&N because when the paper gauze gets dirty, it's suspended with oil, and they actually work just as good dirty as they do clean.
Right.
And then we put a ladies' nylon on the K&N sock to keep the chunks away. So if you look down, you can see the nylon over top of the air cleaner.
And of course, it doesn't have to be a ladies' nylon,
Okay, men's nylon.
Yeah, in this day and age, Daryl, we can say that it can be anybody's nylon.
Okay, exactly. Or a hockey sock. Seats are small, it looks like a little single solo seat. When you get into a head shake at speed, you push back. So on the bike, if it starts to shake, because there's ruts and grooves, and you can get into a speed wobble. Well, you save it two ways. You get your butt over the axle and more gas. Sometimes there is no more gas. You're wide open to begin with. So you push back to get your butt, there we go, over top of the axle. Transfer weight to the back wheel.
Right.
Don't come forward, because in a shake, if you come forward, you have amplified it. So now we're getting into the technical part, but if you come out to the test and tune, we're going to give you some pointers and show you.
Cool.
You make your...
Now, you wanted to talk about the back brake setup.
Okay, so our brakes aren't like street bike brakes. We don't want to lock the wheel up.
Okay.
We're not on pavement, we're on dirt. So you really only use your brake for entering and exiting. In an emergency, you'll use it. You don't want to go in and break the corner. it takes time. It burns up your brake. The guys that you're racing against aren't going to be doing it. So you're scrubbing speed with the tires and the hot sheet.
Right.
You don't go, racing down the straightaway and touch the brake.
Well, the engine braking will do that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Amir. Exactly. So the brake's really just for entering and exiting the track, or someone crashes and you got to stop quicker. But they don't lock the wheel.
And it's quite a modification that you've made on this bike, I take it.
Yeah, it's on the right side. This particular bike hit the post in corner 4 3 years ago at Olds. Joe got a little high in the corner. I mean, it could have been severely worse, but he shaved this whole side off. And so the pipe's dented, and this had to be rebuilt. But had it caught on the front of the engine, it would have stopped it dead. And he would have come off the bike. And that's a high-speed area, corner 4.
Right.
So he's learned his lesson, and he's riding away from those posts. They're not your friend. We line the hay bales around the post, but still.
Yeah.
They're,
And what about exhaust? Tell us about
it's an open air.
racing.
It's a Barracuda system. They're quite loud, but they breathe well. And
And this racing doesn't have any decibel requirements or anything like your.
At this point, no, but most people have some sort of muffling in the pipe. But generally, all the pipes will come with that. But you can get, I guess, like a straight pipe. But,
yeah, we've done sound tests with ORE, Olds Regional Exhibition, and the RCMP were there, and we make some noise, but. Their viewpoint on it is that they actually get noise complaints from weed whackers and lawnmowers too.
Okay.
They told me that.
Right.
So it's a give and take situation. We're not, like I said earlier, we're not trying to do this in the morning. We shut her down at the end of the day, which are 5 o'clock or earlier.
I'm glad you came back to that. I was going to ask you about that. Let's talk about dates and what happens each day. What your times are on race days and stuff. Are people...
Can I grab that poster there and that'll help me out? On the
Sure.
dates?
Do people know that they can go home by 5 o'clock, or should they be expecting to be there until 10 o'clock in the evening?
No, it's a full day for the riders, but for a spectator, they could get the whole show in for like 5 hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours.
So when you say a full day for the riders, when is the racing done? When do you finish?
Our goal is 5 p.m. and then we do 2-day events on our poster for 2024. The earlier mentioned the test and tune, June 8th and 9th. Then we go to a rain date in July. We have one event per month, June, July. We have 2 in June, but one's a test and tune. Then we have a July rain date, alternate. And then we have an August and a September.
So it's a 6-race series over 3 weekends. So the Saturday race is points, Sunday race is points, and then we have 2 weekends of test and tune.
Or rain date.
Where one becomes a rain date if required.
So the reason we do 2 days, Bruce, is because say you're coming from North Battleford, Saskatchewan, and it rains a lot.
Right.
So we always have the second day. So if the clouds stop, the track can dry out, and then we pack it, and we can have a great Sunday race from a Saturday rain out.
Right.
So we always do 2 days,
because
it's just too far to come, and then say, guys, it's rain. Sorry, got to go home.
Well, even if it doesn't rain, you get 2 days of riding. So it makes the whole trip.
So this is Olds, and you guys wait until noon to start. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And then plan to be done around 5, okay?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned Dinosaur Downs. Are we doing any racing
Not
out
this
there?
Year.
Not this year.
Not this year. We've been in and out of Dinosaur Downs over the last 10 years, but currently we're at Olds, and up the road we'll probably be back in Dinosaur Downs.
Okay.
But currently 2024 is all at ORE, or Olds Regional Exhibition.
Okay. Good.
Our admission is actually, we're extending the offer this year from 2023. We don't charge admission for spectators. That's our inflation fighter. We're allowing the public to come, no charge. They have a great new aluminum grandstand with a cover.
Right.
So you're not out there baking in the sun.
And you do have concessions available as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
right?
And
So
beer
there's-
garden and so on.
Kinsman
Yeah.
Okay.
Club.
Yeah.
And we also have, some beer area, like Amir said, outside the fence, outside
Yeah.
the track. Anyone who wants to come into the pits has to pay a $10 pit pass for insurance. And you
Okay.
can actually watch from the infield. And there's some great seats along the rail. You don't want to get too close, though, if there's an
No.
accident. So 10 feet back kind of thing.
Yeah.
You'll have
Good.
guys going by you at 88 feet a second. Get
Just to,
get your camera ready.
Just to location, there's a slight chance of it, and I think everyone's really looking forward to the possibility of a practice track in the local area, like close to
Okay.
Calgary. They have one, they have tracks up by Edmonton that can be used for practice, but we're lacking that in Calgary. So everyone keep their fingers crossed and hope it comes together.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So thank you for covering that. I do want to jump back here because I noticed something else that I wanted to ask you about. So this bike does have a kickstart, but I know you guys don't like, or at least Daryl doesn't like kicking them over, and you do have another starting technique.
Yeah, there's a lot of compression, Bruce, and this is, you can start the bike with, your,
Electric starter. Yeah.
yes, the modern bikes have electric, so Amir's got some electric start bikes. We use a ratchet starter on a 3/4 inch drive that goes on the crankshaft of this bike, and if the battery goes dead, then you got the backup to the Kickstarter here.
Right.
That's more of a specialized, like what you're talking about mostly are the die-hard, the guys that really have been into it for a while and they want all the best equipment, and so this is where you end up,
Yeah.
And then when I'll talk about where you start.
Sure.
Yeah.
Your starter is similar to what they would use, I believe, in go-kart racing.
Yes, yeah. It's like a
being-
little, say, a Toyota mini, like 4-cylinder Toyota Corolla
Right.
starter
Right.
on a little steel basket with a battery below it.
Yep.
And you insert it on the crank on this side, and
Yep.
then you have to pre-roll the crank over compression
Yep.
so that the starter can work. Because if you just shove it in there and it hasn't gone over top dead center,
Yeah.
the starter will stall.
Right. Being a drag racer, I'm sure you guys have seen
Yes.
the starter motor that goes on the
Yes.
blower snout
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
to start the
Same
car.
thing.
I think
So
the Formula One cars have the same kind of.
I think they have
Yeah,
a
because
similar...
they roll
yeah.
out a battery pack, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just leaving that 20 pounds in the truck.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The
Makes
battery,
the
the
bike
starter.
lighter. Yeah.
Yeah. Cut down the
Great.
weight.
I think we've covered the bike pretty well. Rear suspension, you didn't talk much about
Okay,
that.
so it's soft basically, medium soft.
Okay.
It's shorter distance, so you're not long travel. 13.5, 14-inch shocks. They modify the motocross shock. They'll just turn the screw adjuster out and drop the back end. That's a cheap way of doing it. You can change the arms below to drop the back end. But for starting out, you don't need to do all that. I mean, if you're a tall rider, you wouldn't do it anyways.
Right.
I have to shorten up a 450 because I'm small. But tall riders, they just jump on. One thing I want to add, that what we're doing this year is we're bringing out a vintage bike group that has been out of commission for 47 years regarding the old track. And these are Spanish Bultaco motorcycles. They were built up until 1978, and they made a specific bike for the Houston Astrodome indoor short track. It's called the Astro. And in the United States, they've got a rejuvenation of this class going.
Cool.
It's called the Astro Cup. For you internet types, check it out. I've seen one of the logos is the running of the bulls.
There you go.
And so we'll have 4 of them at the track this year. And
Nice.
they're all in different stages of restoration. And they will run in a vintage 2-stroke class along with Amir's Makos and some old Can-Am, the only Canadian built ever dirt
Yes.
bike.
Yep.
So there'll be several Can-Ams, maybe up to 3. Some old Yamaha air-cooled 360 single. That was kind of like the entry-level Japanese dirt bike before they started motocross. DT 250s and DT 360s. So there's a couple of those out there. So I think around 9 riders on the old 2-stroke vintage.
Nice. That'll be a good show.
Yeah, they're
That'll
all
be a
air
good
cooled
show.
and they're all,
Yeah.
you know,
Very cool.
45 to 50 years old.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Amir, you wanted to talk about some stuff.
Yeah, let me, one point to here, if I've seen, if someone's like a crazy enthusiast, like you would, not crazy,
Like you.
but you would actually have the shifter and the brake on the right side.
Yes, I was going to ask you about
Because
that.
on my Mako, what happens is when I go into the corner, like it's low enough, the dirt hits my shifter, and it shifts for me.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Not when I'm planning to. Right. So I have to move my shifter up a notch on the spline, and there's only one notch, but it just happens to be enough that I don't catch the shifter when I'm going into
Well, and
the
I
corner.
was thinking too, with the steel shoe on, it can't be any fun to try and shift with
You're
that
right.
stupid shoe on your foot.
Well, once you get into fifth and leave it there, then that's
if that's the case,
Yeah.
but if you are trying to shift,
really
Well,
not
you,
want them
you only have
once you get going.
one downshift going into the corner most of the time, and then
Right.
3/4 of the way through the corner, you shift up, and
I'm working on an XS 650 right now that
Okay.
I'm doing a flat tracker style.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And I'm actually figuring out how to put a shifter on the other side as well, on the right side, so that it looks like a tracker, but there'll still be a shift on the left side.
Talk to Edmonton fellow, Donnie Galloway. He's got some.
I've known Don for years.
Yeah,
Great
he'll-
guy.
He can
Yeah.
help you out on
I
it.
think
Okay.
you just
Okay.
drill a hole through the other side and maybe flip or you have to get a custom
Oh,
shaft
some
belt or
rod
something.
ends
Yeah,
and-
weld up
and-
the case.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
get a
We'll
seal.
make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
the Astros, they're right-hand shift, right-hand brake.
Okay.
Old Triumphs, yeah, they can be. The newer ones weren't. What else?
I saw a Mako. I'm drooling over.
Yeah.
It's,
It was it right hand?
it's both. Right hand and shift and right hand brake.
Yeah.
I would and it was in a frame.
And the reason
Yeah.
for that, Bruce, is that now you don't have to think with your left foot other than sliding.
Right.
Because like you said, the steel shoe, you got to, they're awkward, and now you got to bend down lower to get in over top of the steel.
Yeah.
To shift it. But like Amir said, it's really only a first lap problem
Yeah.
because
Well,
once you get going, you're not shifting.
We'll do some more work on design and stuff, and we'll see what happens here. We are kind of running out of time here, guys. You had a couple things you wanted to touch on quickly.
Yeah, I wanted to run through setting up like a vintage bike, like
Okay.
basic setup. Mine like budget wise, I got myself a trials tire for the rear because it was 18-inch, and it's difficult to find an 18-inch proper flat track tire.
Right.
Although now there's so many of these dual sport tires that would work. Anyway, a trials tire on the back. I didn't do any suspension lowering, and I just went out. Bike that was very tall for me, so I might consider doing some lowering on that bike, but it was my first time out, and I was just trying it. But I had to get Riley to help me on the bike, and then hold it so I didn't fall over, and all this stuff. Anyway, so as far as like setting up a vintage, I remember my Husqvarna. I was able to bring the forks past the handlebars. There's a rubber mount on the bar, and you loosen it off. I could pull the bars back a little bit, slide the forks up. I had the forks up like here, and then I left the rear shock at 13 inches travel, so I had a stink bug. But if you're winning, who cares what you look like? So that worked to make a steeper fork angle, and it just worked. It was on a Husky 500. That was great. So as far as setup, you can drop the forks as much as you can to steepen the rake. You might leave the rear shock. It depends how tall you are. You can leave it. I did a thing on my RM 250 where it had the full floater suspension, and you could actually, I could stick a piece of 2x4 in there, and I'd limit the rebound, so it stayed low. And
I've seen guys actually tie down the bike low.
You can, strap it.
Just for a first timer?
Yeah, but I wouldn't do it because it comes loose and gets tangled up in the wheel. I wouldn't recommend that. Unless you have a chain with...
more on the
you would
outside.
use a chain and
Opposite
blocks,
Right.
You can back off the shock preload to let it sit lower. I'm going to find out now, because this year I'm using a lowering link on the bottom that's adjustable, so I can set my ride height.
Oh, okay.
I can drop it about 4 inches.
Yeah.
I got my...
Because you're using a monoshock.
I'm
Single
switching to the newer bikes now. I got my forks lowered 3 inches. So
Internally,
yeah, I had to get a new spring, and so now they're 3 inches lower.
These are modern 450 forks.
This is these forks are
Much bigger around than
these forks will go on, like they came off KTM. I had them on my Husaberg. They're going on a Husqvarna shortly. So that's one thing.
So,
Bruce, like, the thing about flat track is community, it's family, and people will help you.
sure.
You'll come over, and people do things differently, and they compare, and they, tell lies or not. And, there's always someone who'll give you some advice.
Absolutely.
Veterans help young guys, and, there's ladies out there racing. So we don't keep secrets.
Right.
Well,
We're trying to help the sport.
There's one thing that I've from years back is when I would set up for ice racing, and the same thing for flat track. What the handling dynamic, what you want, probably best to see it from this side, is if you had a straight bar and it went through the axle here, it goes through the crank, it goes through the swing arm, and it goes to the rear axle. If you have a straight line right through there, you could probably, bike's quite close, and that's the ideal setup, is to have this. Because
Pretty
then,
level.
Because then you're not having, I don't know, maybe there's torque effects if you're out of adjustment or whatever, but it makes for a very neutral, good handling if those are in a line. So if you're setting up like even a modern 450, you can just take a long bar and just see where you are. You might lower the back a bit. You might drop the fork a little bit. Try and have that go through both your swing arm and the middle of the crank, as well as the axles.
So you know what? I'm going to cut you off at that point because we are over time, and I know Kenny's got some stuff going on in here this afternoon, so we're under constraints here. I think we could do this again, and we've still got a lot of stuff to talk about. Sure. You asked if I'd come out to the track. Absolutely. I'm going out to watch anyway, so I might as well bring cameras with me.
We'd love to have you on board.
Guys, it's been great to do this, and like I say, I think we should do another one. Maybe we'll do it at the track this time.
Sure.
Once we get out there. So you can hold that poster up. I'm just going to say...
June 8th and 9th. Come on out with your dirt bike. Get your dad's dirt bike out of the shed, whatever you got. If you got a street bike, street tires don't work, so you'd have to get something more aggressive than that. But come out, give it a go. If you haven't got a bike, come and see me. If you got your gear, I'll let you take a few laps on our Franken bike.
There you go. Yeah. So quick shout out to Jen and Kenny and Ill Fated Customs. We really appreciate being able to use this place. It was wonderful. Instagram, Speed and Color on Instagram. We're on YouTube and of course podcasts. You can leave us a comment. Do not smash the like button. Just tap the like button, just gently. That's all you need to do. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, I missed something on the tires, but next time.
Next time.
I
we
wanted.
covered a lot of
That's
good
what
area.
I've noticed, guys, is just thinking about everything we didn't talk about. Frick, we could go on for another hour.